प्रभृतिभिः देवैः सदा वन्दिता सा मां पातु सरस्वती भगवती निःशेषजाड्यापहा.
Now, I am delighted to introduce our keynote presenter, CA Naveen Khandelwal sir. We are privileged to have you among us today, and we thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule. A heartfelt welcome to our guest speaker. We appreciate your valuable involvement to this event, sir. Now, I would like to invite VC sir to welcome our guest.
वर्चुअली हो गया.
Now, I would like to invite Dr. T.K. Mandal sir, coordinator of Sri Vaishnav Institute of Commerce, to speak few words about the session. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Maita. The speaker of today's session, Mr. Naveen Khandelwal, the senior partner of N. Khandelwal and Company, and an eminent chartered accountant in Indore. Most of us would know him for his energetic presence, particularly during Indore Management Association conferences. Our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Dr. Vitt-Arth, my dear colleagues, this is the fourth instance that we are having a post-budget analysis session, and perhaps the first one where we had an interim budget presented, so to say, the vote of account which has been presented by the current government. That brings a lot of challenge as far as analysis of budget is concerned. Remember, we made this as an annual feature from the point of view of common interest as well as from the point of view of interest of our management and commerce students as well as faculty members, besides the senior members of this institute. Once a budget is presented, all of us as common men eagerly wait for what is there in store for each one of us. Incidentally, this being an interim budget, as far as my limited knowledge goes, there is hardly anything which has come out in form of reliefs for the common taxpayer. We thank Mr. Khandelwal particularly because he has agreed to address us and give an analysis under these circumstances. Remember, we see only the top layer, the 1/12 part of the budget, that is the top of the iceberg. And analysts like Mr. Khandelwal, who is, as I said, a reputed chartered accountant, have a hawk eye as far as analysis of further details of the budget is concerned. And therefore, I'm sure he'll take us through this particular session for next 1 hour or so in giving us further insights and very enriching understanding of the budget that has been presented. So my sincere and heartful welcome to you, sir. My welcome also to our Honorable Vice Chancellor and our other esteemed colleagues who are present on this platform. I'm sure we are going to have a very delightful session during the next 1 hour. With this, I hand over back to Moita.
Thank you, sir, for telling us about the session. Now, I would like to invite Honorable Vice Chancellor Sir Dr. Upendra Dhar for a welcome address to our distinguished speaker. Over to you, sir.
Good afternoon. At the outset, I would like to welcome Chartered Accountant Naveen Khandelwalji to this platform. As all of us know, that budget analysis and its interpretation is very important for all of us. There used to be days when in Bombay, post-budget presentation was made by a great soul, Nani Palkhiwala, and thousands of people used to attend his session. And I remember when I was faculty at Institute of Management Studies, IMS, Devi Ahilya Vishwavidyalaya, we used to request our colleague, Professor V.D. Naga, who was professor and head of economics, to clarify what budget says. Sometimes we used to be happy on certain points and he would clarify that no need to be happy on this. These are going to be the implications. Or on some points were not clear. So he would always clarify that, well, what it means. Everybody is not an expert in understanding and interpreting the budget. Smaller nuances sometimes emerge as very important points. Therefore, we are very happy that our friend CA Naveen Khandelwalji is today with us to elaborate on the budget which has been presented recently and give the analysis how a common man is going to be benefited, how different segments of the society are going to be benefited, and then what are the implications after the implementation of this budget, how everyone is going to be affected. So not taking much time between our experts and his deliberation, I once again welcome him to this platform. All of us know him very well. With person as a communicator, and I'm sure that everyone would listen to the presentation he will be making and then have questions, have relevant and meaningful questions. We should not ask questions just for asking sake. We should ask questions which have a meaning, and CA Khandelwalji will be responding to them. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. After this, let's have a brief introduction of our knowledgeable presenter of the event, CA Naveen Khandelwal, sir. He is a practicing chartered accountant since 1997. He is also qualified as an information system auditor from ICAI, New Delhi. At present, he is heading a firm in Indore and looking after its operations. He is also qualified insolvency professional and registered valuer. His area of specializations are mentoring startups in Central India for growth and strategy planning, auditing for various public and private sector banks, and have depth knowledge of working of banks. He is also leading insolvency cases and appear at court in corporate matters. He also handles corporate internal audit ranging from steel, soya, and FMGC products. His other highlights are he is speaker on areas of management, current trends, and motivation. He is a keynote speaker at various platforms of management CA conferences across India. He is vibrant quiz master. He is innovative host of shows at different social platforms. He is also a blogger and writer of motivation, relation, and trends. He is also a seasoned marathoner. Finally, the moment we all have been waiting for is here. We are ready to start our event, which is definitely going to be informative and engaging. Sir, kindly impart your knowledge with us.
Thank you, Mohita ma'am, and thank you, Upendra sir. Obviously, when you said knowledgeable, I am very skeptical about knowledge. because that's always a learning process and there's no end to gaining knowledge. So we're still learning from each other as well as from our finance minister also. So there's a big way to again to go, and जिंदगी लंबी बड़ी होनी चाहिए, लंबी नहीं होनी चाहिए, ऐसा मेरा मानना है. तो इसी उद्देश्य से let us start our session. I understand that today's topic would be relevant to obviously students, more relevant to students, and because I have focused my presentation on the students and the prospects for students in times to come with respect to whatever our finance minister has laid down. When Upender sir ne mentioned here that about years back there was a one time when Nani Palkiwala ji used to address thousands of people in a stadium at Mumbai for the post-budget analysis. Probably those days have been shifted to, sir, where film stars come and address the students. So now the difference comes out there here. And obviously social media has changed the way what we look into the world. And students are more knowledgeable through memes and understand what memes says on the WhatsApp University rather than what we say. But anyway, we have a different perspective, and the students should always look into the different perspective. And post-budget analysis is one way to understand how future is going to shape up in terms of our country, Bharat. And if we critically analyze what is happening around us, probably it will help us in taking a correct decision, though I would not say 100% correct, but at least we can try to take our next step looking to the future. So that is my whole understanding of this budget, and that is what I'm trying to present here through my short PPT, which I have prepared for the participants. And I hope the PPT is clear and visible, madam.
Yes, it is visible. Yeah.
Yeah,
Please go ahead.
okay, right. So I have structured my presentation into different aspect. So when Mondal sir mentioned that we expect a lot of things out of the budget, and ironically, this budget being a pre-election budget, that is more of vote and account, as he mentioned, and there's nothing much in this vote and account budget, which is normally presented during the election year, and we are all aware of these facts. But still, in spite of the vote and account budget, there's a lot of sparkling with not much of fireworks in the budget. When I say fireworks, that means there was nothing which was given to the common man. And people do expect that during an election year, we'll expect something to be laid down in front of the common man to attract the voters. But surprisingly, and obviously looking to what our Prime Minister Modi ji has laid down the foundation on the 22nd of January, it really gives them more confidence to present a budget which is more on future, outward looking, rather than giving away freebies to the common man. And that is ideally a budget should be, where budget should be focused more on the planning of the expenditure, finances, and laying down the foundation for our next growth. So that is what the budget is all about. So there's nothing in relation to taxation, nothing in relation to indirect taxation, which normally as a student, we do get confused because we are not well versed the world of taxation and other related matters. And this budget actually does not talks about tax. The budget talks about economics. And as a student, I think we should be concerned about the economy of our country. So the process of Bharat Ek Khoj, I think since 2014 and or before that also, the process हमारे भारत की खोज के लिए जारी है, जहां हम उम्मीद करते हैं कि वापस हम सोने की चिड़िया कहलाएंगे. So that process is on, and each budget actually makes a incremental step towards identifying that Bharat, हमारे भारत जो एक सोने की चिड़िया कहलाता है. So I think this budget also again puts in certain more efforts to actually give the citizens of this country a new India. So my agenda will be first to understand a basic background about Indian demographics, which we are aware of, but then for the students, I think it is very relevant. And then what has happened in the last 10 years, the major steps which has been taken by this government, and the current macro view, and then the future, the focus, and the sectors. As Upender sir mentioned here, that we need to identify the sectors for the future. So I have made certain points on the areas where students should focus on and try to develop knowledge or something related to that area. Now, talking about the Indian demographics, I think everybody is aware, but the critical element is the second and the third point, where we understand that India now being the most populated country of the world, taking over China, the working age population is maximum, which is a very positive angle. And we all understand the power, the energy the youth carries. I think we all understand that we need to channelize that energy. क्योंकि उनके पास जुनून है और जुनून आपसे वो करवा सकता है जो आप कर नहीं सकते हैं. और शायद हम सबको हमारी जिम्मेदारी एज अ फैकल्टी, एज सीनियर पीपल, that we need to channelize that energy into right direction. And that is what the government is trying to put in. It is channelize the energy of the working age population in the right direction. And that is why major focus of our government is to provide opportunities to the younger age people. And that is how each government should lay down the policies. So the working age population is maximum. But again, a very important angle which we should consider, preparing for the future for the aging population. And that's a very critical element where this balance is to be required, where the impetus is to be given to the working age, but preparing for the aging population in times to come. As we all understand that when people grow in terms of age, though they gain wisdom and white hair. So there are two elements of this, aging population. More is the wisdom, but then with wisdom, the energy drains down. So to counter this particular aspect, that how to take care of the social angle of the aging population, there has to be certain base where India does not feel the pressure of serving the aging population after 2040. And that is the biggest challenge which our country faces today. So looking to this demographic angle of India, both on the positive and the negative aspect, a budget is prepared so that it balances out both the angles, the extreme angles. So if you see the last 10 years, I don't know, students are aware of this fact. Any student who can raise a hand and say they are aware of the developments which have happened in the last 10 years with respect to whatever I have mentioned. Madam, are they allowed to raise hands?
No, sir. Actually,
If they can write in a chat box, sir.
Okay, so anybody who can write on a chat box, please welcome. Please do write on the chat box whether you are aware of these, developments which have happened and giving a new definition to the economic growth of India. So if you are aware of Jan Dhan Yojana, I think most of you must be aware or must have experienced this concept if you are coming from a smaller tier 3 city or a smaller area. Then insolvency code, again, a revisionary law which has changed the world of corporate thinking. That happened in 2015. 2015. And then demonetization, I think, सबको पता है कि क्या हुआ था उस समय. Then the introduction of GST, that is in 2017. So I'm going year by year. So 2014 Jan Dhan Yojana, insolvency code 15, to demonetization 2016, GST was introduced in 2017. Jan Arogya Yojana was introduced in 2018. Now, when I am mentioning these type of laws or the schemes which have been launched by our government, this has actually transformed the various areas and the sectors and the legal structure. And we all understand that how these have impacted the rural economy, the village economy, the city economy, and the corporate economy. Then the Kisan Yojana scheme, which was recently launched in 2019. The new income tax slab or the regime in 2020. The Gati Shakti Yojana, which is basically to bring down the supply chain mechanism. That is the Gati Shakti Yojana. Then the Viksit Bharat concept given by our Prime Minister, that India should be a developed country by the year 2047. And the newly introduced PLI scheme, that is Production Incentive Based Scheme. Now, these are the major steps which have been taken in the last 10 years. So when the foundation has been laid and looking to the next budget, which will come after the new government comes into picture after May 2024, probably these schemes have given enough kind of information, data, and the foundation to make the next step rolling for our government. So that is why when you look for the future, friends, especially students who are ready to graduate out of college or postgraduate out of college, I think when we are ready to enter into our professional world or the corporate world, the base should be very clear. Yesterday I was having a discussion with few senior people, and they mentioned that today students who are recently passed out, graduating out of college, probably their horizon or the way of thinking has got limited because of the obvious reasons of development which has happened in the society, technology, and so on. And that is why all these corporate leaders where I met yesterday and having a discussion with them, they feel that the young minds do not have that broader vision or thought process to understand what could be happening in the next 10 years. And probably lectures like this, when we focus on lectures like this, though it may be very boring at times, we appreciate it. We understand that these are all technical jargon which we are talking about. But if any student grabs the crisp of all these points, he will definitely differentiate himself from the common people. And he will definitely have an edge. So that is why understanding all these schemes, looking to the future is very necessary. And that is what the government has done in this current budget. Whatever they have implemented, they have taken that base, and the next step is taken in this particular budget. So these are the 10 major schemes in the last 10 years. I have not considered the smaller aspects. I have taken only the broader major schemes which have been launched by the government. Now, when you read the speech of our Honorable Finance Minister, again, I would raise a very simple question to students if they can answer in the chat box. What does GDP means for them? And I am sure that everybody would give a standard answer of gross domestic product. And if I ask them a definition of gross domestic product, 80% would be bang on and defining what is GDP means. And still 20% will again fumble on what actually GDP means. And our finance minister has redefined this word of GDP, or I'm trying to redefine it a different perspective, where GDP for us means governance, development, and performance. That is why they have specially focused on say that जो हमने 10 साल में किया है, पिक्चर अभी बाकी है मेरे दोस्त, अगले 10 साल भी हमारे लिए बहुत सारा काम करने को है. So their aspect is that they will now focus on development, governance, and performance. Though they have highlighted this, that they have been focusing in, but going forward, their major area would be on these 3 areas. And as a college or as an university also, if we try to develop this term and implement it for the student development, that हम हर स्टूडेंट से पूछे भैया हर साल में आपकी जीडीपी कितनी बड़ी है. नॉर्मली हम कंट्री की जीडीपी की बात करते हैं, तो क्या हम इंडिविजुअल पे अप्लाई नहीं कर सकते भैया आपकी जीडीपी कितनी बड़ी है? And that GDP could be in relation to their growth in terms of knowledge, their marking system or their value addition, development in their different activities, internship or something, and participation. I mean, I'm just trying to define the word GDP in relation to students also. So good that it has been redefined, and now GDP will have a new meaning. So next means going forward, the whole government, if they come back again, they will try to focus on more governance issue. Now, when you see governance, friends, I think students should understand कि governance का मतलब क्या होगा यहाँ पर. Governance का मतलब होगा more digitization, more stress and more focus on digitization, because government means proper implementation of the policies. And when I say proper implementation, it has been observed, felt, experienced by all of us that the promises and the implementation, there is a big gap. जो हम वादा करते हैं और जो हम काम करते हैं, उन दोनों के बीच में बहुत बड़ा गैप होता है। जो आप स्टूडेंट की अगर नजर में देखें, आप अगर इश्क में हैं और इश्क में अगर वादा करते हैं और जो आप काम करते हैं, तो आप देखते हैं कि उसमें कितना फर्क होता है। उस फर्क को कम करने के लिए गवर्नेंस एक बहुत जरूरी पार्ट होता है। तो इसीलिए गवर्नमेंट is now coming out with policies where they will ensure there is a proper accountability of things which are implemented. And when there is accountability, it will deliver the result. And finally, the benefits will actually roll down to individual citizen of this country. So governance is of prime importance. Development, we all understand, is the underlying of any budget or any scheme. And then the performance measurement, which is equally very important. So time and again, they will review and get the feedback from the common people that whether this scheme is actually benefiting the common man. So with this, again, a background where GDP has been redefined, let us see what this particular budget focuses on. And today the budget talks about fiscal deficit. I understand that most of you must be knowing fiscal deficit. If you don't know it, I'm not going to discuss the definition of fiscal deficit. For any student of commerce and management, please review this definition, because time and again it will come into your life, and it is always of prime importance looking to the whole macro factor of our country. So they have given a target of 4.5% of GDP by 2026, which is a very good target. And if they are able to achieve it, the biggest benefit of this particular would be that हमारे देश में पैसा मिलेगा। सब पैसा मतलब कमाई के रूप में नहीं, there will be enough money for money available for deployment purpose for the common society. So एक बहुत बड़ा benefit होगा. That means the government will not borrow money, which is very good sign looking to the future. अगर आप रोज पेपर पढ़ते होंगे तो आपको समझ में आएगा कि जीएसटी ने बिजनेसमैन की जिंदगी थोड़ी हालत खराब कर दी, बट गवर्नमेंट के नजरिए से देखें तो उनके लिए तो बहुत अच्छी खुशखबरी वाली बात होती है। बोथ साइड्स रहते हैं सर, हर इश्क के दो पहलू रहते हैं। ये आपका नजरिया है कि आप उस इश्क को किस नजरिए से देखते हैं। तो गवर्नमेंट के लिए जीएसटी तो एक बहुत बड़ा एक बून है। तो the collection under GST is maximum. I think for December, it was 1.7676 lakh crore, which is one of the highest. तो आप समझ सकते हैं 2.2 लाख करोड़ का कलेक्शन हो रहा है टैक्स का। गवर्नमेंट विल नेवर थिंक ऑफ रेजिंग इनकम टैक्स, क्योंकि उनको मेजर कलेक्शन इनडायरेक्ट टैक्स से ही आ रहा है, तो क्यों दूसरे सोर्सेज ऑफ इनकम जनरेट करेंगे। सो दैट इज अ वेरी गुड साइन फॉर अस. But in terms of businessmen, a lot of businessmen are facing that pain. Anyway, that's a different story. अलग कहानी है. सब्सिडी स्पेंड को उन्होंने कंटेन किया है, विच इज अगेन ए वेरी गुड साइन. अगर हम देश की प्रगति की बात करें तो सब्सिडी हम सबको समझ में आता है दोस्तों. फ्रेंड्स, आपको समझ में आना चाहिए सब्सिडी is a free money or a grant which is given by the government. Though it is a good sign that the government provides the grant which is very necessary for the development of the economy, but at the other hand, they should not spend blindly. और मोस्ट ऑफ द टाइम बहुत सारे लोगों का नजरिया होता है फ्री का पैसा है, गवर्नमेंट से ले लो, क्योंकि अल्टीमेटली हम भी तो गवर्नमेंट को दे रहे हैं. ऐसा होना नहीं चाहिए. ग्रांट इज टू बी गिवन फॉर अ स्पेसिफिक रीजन, एंड इन दिस बजट दे हैव स्पेशली मेंशन द सब्सिडी स्पेंड हैज बीन कंटेन्ड, विच नॉर्मली हैपेंस इन द इलेक्शन ईयर, क्योंकि बहुत सारे चेंजेस होते हैं तो उस साल में सब्सिडी ज्यादा नहीं दी जाती है. एंड वंस द बजट गवर्नमेंट कम्स बैक इनटू पिक्चर तो अचानक सब्सिडी का अमाउंट बढ़ जाता है. बट इट इज अ गुड साइन. एक बहुत बड़ा एलिमेंट है दो फ्रेंड्स, आई थिंक एज अ स्टूडेंट वी शुड बी अवेयर. देखिए, आपके घर में भी अगर आप ऑब्जर्व करेंगे, आपकी ग्रोथ, आपके घर में ग्रोथ कब होती है? जब आप खर्चा करते हैं. खर्चा कौन सा होना चाहिए? खर्चा ऐसा होना चाहिए जो लॉन्ग टर्म के रिस्पेक्ट में आपको बेनिफिट मिले. घर बनाते हैं तो दैट इज अ गुड साइन. सो घर बनाना इज ए कैपिटल एक्सपेंडिचर जो लंबे समय तक आपको जिंदगी में मदद करेगा. इसी तरह इवन द गवर्नमेंट हैज गुड प्लान ऑफ कैपेक्स, कैपिटल एक्सपेंडिचर। गवर्नमेंट की तरफ से कैपिटल एक्सपेंडिचर अलग अलग नेचर के होते हैं, विच इंक्लूड्स बाइंग ऑफ एसेट्स फॉर प्रोडक्टिव पर्पस, विच इज वेरी एसेंशियल. And in this budget, they have estimated an 11% growth in the capital expenditure. दो लास्ट ईयर 33% था पूरे बजट एलोकेशन का. अगर गवर्नमेंट 1 लाख करोड़ खर्चा कर रही है तो उन्होंने लास्ट ईयर बोला था कि हम 33,000 करोड़ कैपिटल एक्सपेंडिचर के लिए करेंगे, जो इस साल के 11% का ग्रोथ बताया है कि 11% पिछले साल से 11% और एक्स्ट्रा करेंगे. तो दैट इज अगेन अ गुड साइन. कैपिटल एक्सपेंडिचर गवर्नमेंट की तरफ से होना चाहिए देश की प्रगति के लिए. बट इससे दूसरी चीज समझ में आती है दोस्तों, फॉर एनी प्रोग्रेशन ऑफ अ कंट्री कैपिटल एक्सपेंडिचर बहुत जरूरी होता है. ये ध्यान रखें, आपकी जिंदगी में भी जब आप आगे बढ़ेंगे तो आपको पता रहना चाहिए कैपिटल एक्सपेंडिचर करेंगे तो ही आपकी ग्रोथ हो सकती है, उसके बिना ग्रोथ नहीं हो सकती है. एंड दैट इज व्हाट इज द गवर्नमेंट दे हैव मेंशन्ड दैट दे आर गोइंग टू मेक अ कैपिटल एक्सपेंडिचर. लेकिन अगर कम हो रहा है दैट मीन्स व्हाट? दैट मीन्स that in future they are depending upon the private sector to ensure this capital expenditure. प्राइवेट सेक्टर से बोलेंगे कि आप कैपिटल एक्सपेंडिचर करो, गवर्नमेंट बोलेगी हम नहीं कर रहे हैं, आप करिए प्लीज. सो दैट मीन्स देयर विल बी मोर पॉलिसीज वेयर दे विल इंसेंटिवाइज द प्राइवेट सेक्टर टू इंकर कैपिटल एक्सपेंडिचर. तब जाके इंडिया में इकोनॉमिक ग्रोथ अचीव हो सकती है, विच आई मेंशन इन द लास्ट पॉइंट, जीडीपी ग्रोइंग एट द रेट ऑफ 7%. एंड पूरे विश्व में फ्रेंड्स ध्यान रखें, इन द होल वर्ल्ड एनी इकोनॉमी ग्रोइंग एट द रेट ऑफ 7% is considered as an excellent economy, considered as an excellent economy. And that is what we are forcing कि हमारे भारत देश की प्रगति 7% से होने वाली है अगले सालों, अगले 5 सालों में, अगले 10 सालों में. So these are the major macro factors looking to the current state of economy. Now with this macro factors the budget has been framed and 4 चीजों पे फोकस करेंगे दोस्तों. स्टूडेंट्स प्लीज नोट इट डाउन, बड़ा इंपॉर्टेंट चीज है. मैं फ्यूचर की बात कर रहा हूं और मैं आपसे माफी चाहता हूं कि मैं फ्यूचर की बात कर रहा हूं आपके करियर के, न कि आपके पर्सनल लाइफ के बारे में. उसके लिए मैं अलग से कभी सेशन रख सकता हूं. मंडल साहब को रिक्वेस्ट करूंगा कि पर्सनल लाइफ में हम किस तरह से अपने पार्टनर को चुने उसके भी बारे में चर्चा कर लेंगे अलग. बट क्योंकि अभी हमारा फोकस आज बजट पे है, मोहिता मैडम ने स्पेसिफिकली मुझे टारगेट दिया है कि प्लीज बजट पे ही फोकस रखें. सो आई एम ट्राइंग टू फोकस ऑन दिस एरिया. So these are the major milestones which government has set for himself. भारत देश के गवर्नमेंट ने बोला है कि मैं 2026 तक ये करूंगा, 2030 तक ये करूंगा. Why not set your target also? आप भी तो अपना खुद का टारगेट, सब आप सोचिए गवर्नमेंट इतनी बड़ी गवर्नमेंट है, वो अपना टारगेट सेट कर रही है एंड हम तो इतने छोटे इंसान हैं. Why can't we set individual target for himself? And remember, मोदी जी ने 2070 तक का टारगेट सेट किया है. 2070, imagine for after 45 years. And we as an individual at least should plan for the next 5 years. And these are the 4 targets which they have mentioned. 2026 का फिस्कल डेफिसिट का टारगेट सेट किया है, which is very important for government to achieve. 2030 में 50% of the energy should be consumed by renewable energy in our country. ये हमारे गवर्नमेंट ने तय किया है, which is again a very important milestone. 2047 तक हमें बोला गया कि हम विकसित भारत के नाम में जाने जाएंगे. दैट मीन्स अ डेवलप्ड इकोनॉमी. एंड इफ यू अचीव दैट विल बी द टॉप मोस्ट इकोनॉमी इन दिस वर्ल्ड. विकसित देश की बात कर रहे हैं. एंड 2070 तक हम बात कर रहे हैं कि हमारे यहाँ नेट जीरो एमिशन होगा. जितना हम फ्यूल बर्न कर रहे हैं उतना ही हम अर्न भी करेंगे. एंड दैट इज व्हाई विल बी अ नेट जीरो एमिशन कंट्री. दैट इज द विजन आवर गवर्नमेंट हैज सेट इन. Now when you set a vision, obviously you work upon that. नहीं तो विजन सेट करने का मतलब ही नहीं होता है. मंजिल अगर आपने डिसाइड की है तो रास्ता भी आप उसकी तरफ खोजेंगे. And then the challenge comes in, friends. When you set a target and as a student we always are confused. किधर जाएं? Now when I say किधर जाएं, I'm now more focusing on the prospects for the student part. किधर जाएं, that is very important. And at different point of time we are always confused कि left जाऊं, right जाऊं, किधर चलना है. That means in terms of career, which career option should I select? If I have to go for a job, मुझे जॉब अगर जाना है तो कौन से सेक्टर में जाना है. जॉब नहीं करना है तो मुझे क्या करना है. पैशन फॉलो करना है. पैशन कुछ हद तक फॉलो हो सकता है. पैशन प्रोफेशन में कन्वर्ट हो जाए तो बहुत अच्छी बात है. but then as a career, we need to have certain kind of direction. So what is the way forward for all of us? So friends, here comes an opportunity. And as a mentor to a lot of young people, I always tell students that why not explore the world of entrepreneurship? Why not really think over कि क्यों नहीं हम अपना खुद का एक नया वेंचर बनाएं? Why I'm trying to focus on this word of entrepreneurship, looking to the future, friends, and looking to what government is focusing on the budgets. You will understand that today the environment is correctly set in, जहां पर हम इस चीज को इनकैश कर सकते हैं. And today the government is focusing on various aspects of Atmanirbharta. So initially when I started my point discussion, friends, और मंडल साहब मैं बात कर रहा हूं, जब मैंने स्टार्ट किया था डेमोग्राफिक्स की, the challenge for opportunity for the younger age population. And our Prime Minister has rightly focused on this area where it is telling the youth of this country कि अपनी कमाई खुद ढूंढो, उसका रास्ता खुद बनाओ, न कि किसी पर निर्भर रहो. And that is why it has come up with various schemes of entrepreneurship like Make in India, Atmanirbharta, Vocal for Local, Startup India, PLI schemes. And these schemes are totally focused on telling people that please develop the capability of being an entrepreneur so that you are not dependent upon others for earning money, because looking to the future, India would require more entrepreneurs because they will not be able to serve themselves. तो इसीलिए हमारा focus today, I would focus on this particular point of becoming an entrepreneur. And as I understand, friends, I am sure that a lot of you will face challenge of becoming an entrepreneur, no doubt about it. We all understand the limitations when we set in for the journey for entrepreneurship. But again, looking to the environment around us, looking to the support system which has been created because of your education, because of the Vaishnav Vidyapeeth environment where they promote all these kind of concepts, the government is supporting. I think this is the right time for you to step into the shoes of being an entrepreneur, friends. और ये जर्नी स्टार्ट होती है अब, और ऐसा नहीं है कि दैट जर्नी स्टार्ट्स ओनली व्हेन यू ग्रेजुएट. आज की डेट में यू विल फाइंड यंग एंटरप्रेन्योर्स कमिंग आउट फ्रॉम स्कूल्स. 12वीं के बाद डायरेक्टली लोग एंटरप्रेन्योर बन जाते हैं. दो फेलियर इज पार्ट ऑफ दिस होल प्रोसेस, वी अंडरस्टैंड, बट देन आज की डेट में हम सबको पता है दैट फेलियर इज जस्ट अ पार्ट ऑफ सक्सेस, इट इज नॉट ऑपोजिट ऑफ सक्सेस. भाई सक्सेस के साथ हमें फेलियर तो आना ही है, तो ये सक्सेस का ऑपोजिट नहीं हो सकता है. So let us focus on all these elements and the sectors where you have a potential. Again, students, let me tell you, ये points, ये words आपको बड़े अजनबी जैसे लगेंगे, but इन अजनबी चेहरे में से ही आपको अपना दिलदार मिलता है. ये दुनिया का नियम है. इस दौर से हम भी गुजरे हैं, मंडल साहब भी गुजरे हैं, और आप भी गुजरोगे. So PLI, it is a production linked incentive scheme. Production linked incentive schemes, though primarily focusing on large and mass production, favoring the big industries of this country, where the government is telling the companies that please increase your production, scale up your production, and when you scale up your production, you will be given certain incentives. And the whole segment which has been focused is in the electronic segment, majorly, and obviously the infrastructure segment, but primarily the focus is on electronic segment. Can any student raise your point that why this scheme has been launched in? कोई student अगर आंसर करना चाहे, again please chat box में बोल सकता है, बता सकता है कि क्यों ये स्कीम लाई गई है और किस कारण से ये स्कीम लाई गई है. So you can answer it in the chat box if you are aware. And I would request मोहिता मैडम, अगर कोई स्टूडेंट आंसर देता है तो प्लीज उसको इंसेंटिवाइज करें, क्योंकि मैं यहाँ पर प्रोडक्शन लिंक इंसेंटिव की बात कर रहा हूँ, तो आप आंसर बेस्ड इंसेंटिव स्कीम लॉन्च करें,
Sure, sir.
है ना? तो कोई अगर आंसर देता है तो प्लीज उनको
Please,
इंसेंटिवाइज
students, you
करें।
can write in a chat box.
हाँ, और मैं इंसेंटिव में ये तो नहीं बोलूंगा कि उनको आप मार्क्स एक्स्ट्रा दे दें, बट एटलीस्ट कुछ आप जरूर एक ऑल्टरनेटिव तरीका निकाल सकते हैं।
Sure, sir.
So friends, when the government is trying to promote all these incentive schemes, तो हमें भी our career we should try to orient or structure our career with respect to these industries, because the industry में growth है, because government is promoting these type of schemes, industry, so this industry will grow in times to come. Therefore हमारा भी orientation इस particular industry में हो सकता है, if we are mindset, if our knowledge, if our skill set is in alignment with all these areas. So the schemes, the industries is electronic based. Let's say, for example, mobile, electronic equipment, accessories. The purpose is these industries which are now totally import based. So government is trying to reduce the outflow because of this import transactions, and they are trying to promote this production in India so that India does not need to import these items or goods. आत्मनिर्भर बन जाए और भारत को फॉरेन एक्सचेंज बाहर न भेजना पड़े, एक बहुत बड़ा ये इंसेंटिव स्कीम है। तो आप कृपया ध्यान दें इस पर्टिकुलर स्कीम पे। अगर आप यू वांट टू स्टार्ट अ बिजनेस विद रिस्पेक्ट टू दीज इंडस्ट्रीज, एंसिलरी इंडस्ट्रीज इसके हो सकते हैं, आने वाले टाइम में दीज इंडस्ट्रीज आर गोइंग टू ग्रो विद सपोर्ट ऑफ द गवर्नमेंट। Then infra industries, and we all know it, see it, watch it, experience it. Anybody who has gone, मंडल सर, आप अगर आपके फैकल्टी में से कोई अगर जो क्वाड्रिलेटरल बना है हमारे पूरे देश के 4 कोनों को जोड़ने से, सो लेट्स से अगर हमने दिल्ली से स्टार्ट किया जो नया क्वाड्रिलेटरल एक्सप्रेस हाईवे बना है, तो कोई भी फैकल्टी मेंबर या स्टूडेंट कभी उस क्वाड्रिलेटरल पे गया है क्या? And recently I was lucky enough to ride that particular quadrilateral express highway from Delhi to Jaipur के रास्ते में था, and वहां पर मिनिमम स्पीड लिमिट 120 किलोमीटर। So you can imagine the kind of roads which have now been built up, and we all understand Vande Bharat trains बनाई जा रही हैं। So railways road again would be a major thrust in times to come. So any business, any job structure in relation to infrastructure which is oriented towards railways has got a good potential, has a good opportunity. And again, if you see, the major focus is on supply chain. And student को supply chain का concept समझाना बहुत जरूरी है सर। मैं आपसे रिक्वेस्ट करूंगा स्टूडेंट से, और कॉलेज अगर कोशिश करे तो उनको Amazon, फ्लिपकार्ट के वेयरहाउसेस में ले जाएं सर, और उनको वहां समझ में आएगा किस तरह से ये दुनिया ऑपरेट की जा रही है, वेयर दे विल एक्चुअली अंडरस्टैंड द इम्पोर्टेंस दैट आज वो Amazon में ऑर्डर करते हैं, हाउ डज द Amazon गिव्स देम अ गारंटी कि 3 दिन में शाम को 6 बजे उनके घर पे डिलीवरी हो जाएगी, है ना? दैट इज द मतलब लेवल ऑफ कमिटमेंट, एंड यू कैन ट्रैक योर द डिलीवरी प्रोसेस एवरी डे, आपको ट्रैकिंग हो जाती है। हाउ दिस इज पॉसिबल? और ये अगर आपके इंदौर में हो रहा है तो इमेजिन अगर आप कोई गांव से आए हैं विच इज 200 किलोमीटर्स फ्रॉम इंदौर, दिस विल हैपन इन योर विलेज ऑल्सो, वेयर द प्रोडक्ट्स विल बी डिलीवर्ड ऑन द सेम डे। जो आपको 3 दिन लग रहे हैं इंदौर में, वही प्रोडक्ट 5 साल बाद आपके विलेज में उसी दिन डिलीवर हो जाएगा। Why will this be possible? Only because of the major thrust of the government in providing a efficient supply chain mechanism. और मेट्रो रेल तो आप देख ही रहे हैं, शुरुआती पेन बाद में आराम, और इसका एक्सपेंशन मोड which has now shifted from tier 1 to tier 2 cities, जैसे हमारे इंदौर की बात करें. Going forward, it will now move on to again tier 3 cities. आने वाले समय में जब जबलपुर भी इंदौर जैसा बड़ा हो जाएगा तो वहां पर भी मेट्रो रेल आ जाएगी. So infrastructure is again a major focus in the next 20 years. देखिए मैं एक budget is always for 1 year, friends. I'm not asking about for 1 year. मैं ये बात कर रहा हूं अगले 20 सालों में हमें किस एरिया पे फोकस करना चाहिए. And as an university also, if we can develop certain kind of knowledge-based session which is focused on these areas, students will definitely benefit out of this whole sessions or any internship or any visit to the factories or units which is dealing with these areas. Housing again बहुत बड़ा एरिया है फ्रेंड्स. आपको पता है गवर्नमेंट ने स्कीम लॉन्च की थी जहां पर दे वर आस्किंग अबाउट लोअर इनकम हाउसिंग स्कीम, एंड दिस इज एक्चुअली a major scheme which has benefited lot of lower income people. और 20 मिलियन घर बन चुके हैं जो अब अगले 1 साल में और बोला जा रहा है कि 30 मिलियन तक हो जाएंगे. घर बनना एक सपना है, सबका सपना होता है, और इस सपने को हासिल करने के लिए गवर्नमेंट मदद कर रही है. एंड इन दिस बजट दे हैव फोकस्ड ऑन नाउ मिडिल हाउसिंग स्कीम. So from rural housing, the focus is now shifting to middle housing scheme, middle income housing scheme, where again they will come up with various kind of incentive structure schemes to promote owning your own home. अपना खुद का घर आपके पास होगा. So when the focus is on providing रोटी, कपड़ा और मकान, देखिए कपड़ा और रोटी के लिए गवर्नमेंट बोलती है रोटी में प्रोवाइड कर देंगे, because there are various schemes which is providing a lot of food based schemes. कपड़ा आपको खुद लाना है, गवर्नमेंट ऐसा बोलती है, और घर हम आपको मदद करेंगे बनाने में, और उसके लिए हम स्कीम लॉन्च करेंगे. And that actually lays down the foundation for any growth of any individual and the country. मेरे लिए रोटी, कपड़ा, मकान की सुविधा अगर किसी ने प्रोवाइड कर दी, फिर मुझे सोचना क्या है, मुझे आगे ही सोचना है कि मैं काम कैसे करूं अपने देश के लिए. So middle housing scheme, middle income housing scheme is the new scheme which has been launched by the government in this particular budget. So when the spend is on housing or related industry बढ़ जाती है, सीमेंट हो, स्टील हो, इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर हो, ये सब चीज स्कीम बढ़ जाती है. So दोस्तों अगर मैं एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप की बात कर रहा था, अगेन इफ यू फोकस ऑन द वर्ल्ड ऑफ एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप, कोई बिजनेस चालू करना चाहता है, सो एनीथिंग विच इज इन रिलेशन टू इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर, हाउसिंग, एक अगेन बहुत बड़ी अपॉर्चुनिटी आपके लिए आ रही है. सो फोकस करें, अपने माइंड को ओरिएंट करें. चीते की चाल और बास की नजर पे कभी शक नहीं करना चाहिए, वो कभी भी मात दे सकते हैं. वैसे ही स्टूडेंट पे कभी भी शक नहीं करना चाहिए, वो कभी भी मात दे सकते हैं. प्रोवाइडेड मस्तानी रास्ते में नहीं आनी चाहिए, है ना. वो आ जाती है तो पूरा रास्ता ही बिगड़ जाता है. तो अगर स्टूडेंट अपना फोकस यहाँ पर रखेगा तो आई एम श्योर, देखिए वो अपने मंजिल को कैसे हासिल करता है. रिन्यूएबल पार्ट, हम सबको पता है इलेक्ट्रिक व्हीकल्स, हाउ दे आर गेनिंग इंपॉर्टेंस in the current environment and how they are going to shape up the future. And again a scheme which has been launched by the government in the current budget, अगर आप देखेंगे उन्होंने सोलर स्कीम एक लॉन्च की है कि हर घर के ऊपर एक सोलर पैनल दिया जाएगा, जिसके कारण उनकी इलेक्ट्रिसिटी खपत कम होगी या खर्चा कम होगा, plus they will be able to sell that surplus electricity which is being generated with the mission of 2030 which I had mentioned earlier, that government 50% of the electricity consumption through renewable energy करना चाहती है, and that is another step to achieve that target. So friends, any business, any career which is in relation to this renewable energy is again giving you an opportunity to focus on in these areas. देखिए कोई भी बिजनेस, कोई भी कैरियर अगर हम स्टार्ट करते हैं तो ध्यान रखें, एक होलिस्टिक व्यू लीजिएगा. गवर्नमेंट का सपोर्ट है कि नहीं है, मार्केट है कि नहीं है, मार्केट एक्सेप्टेबिलिटी है कि नहीं है, लोगों के बारे में उसके जानकारी है कि नहीं है. देन दैट गिव्स यू अ कंफर्ट लेवल. वंस यू एंटर दिस फील्ड, देन आप फोकस करें ऐसे एरिया पे जहां दुनिया को नहीं पता हो. देन यू बिकम अ स्टार्टअप, देन यू क्रिएट अ रेवोल्यूशन. बट बिफोर क्रिएटिंग अ रेवोल्यूशन, ट्राई टू एक्सपेरिमेंट व्हाट इज बीइंग एस्टैब्लिश्ड and try to burn or earn your hands out of it. फिर आप कोई भी एक रेवोल्यूशनरी आइडिया लेके आए। सो रिन्यूएबल पे इस बजट में अगेन बहुत बड़ा फोकस है, वेयर द फाइनेंस मिनिस्टर हैज स्ट्रेस्ड अपॉन द वर्ड दैट दे आर गोइंग टू डेवलप एन इकोसिस्टम फॉर मोबिलिटी। जब हम मोबिलिटी की बात कर रहे हैं, इकोसिस्टम की बात कर रहे हैं, तो चार्जिंग स्टेशन की बात कर रहे हैं, दैट शुड बी अवेलेबल अक्रॉस द हाईवेज। वो इलेक्ट्रिसिटी प्रोविजन की बात कर रहे हैं अक्रॉस दी प्लेसेस, गांव गांव में आपको ये सब चीज मिलेगी। तो इसलिए एक इकोसिस्टम डेवलप करने की बात की है, प्लस विद अ स्कीम ऑफ इंसेंटिवाइजिंग implementation of solar panels across housing. Skill mission, I think this is a major job for all of us as a faculty member, as an individual also, as being my mentor for a lot of students, as a university and as a student. I think हम सबको फोकस करना चाहिए अपग्रेडिंग आवर स्किल टू मेक अ किल। देखिए, अगर आपको मार्केट में जाना है और चीजों का हासिल करना है, स्किल सेट एंड माइंडसेट का परिवर्तन बहुत जरूरी है। Changing the skill set and the mindset, and government has come up with various schemes to provide that skill set, especially in rural areas. Rural areas में बहुत मदद कर रही है to develop that skill set. And under the new education policy, the major focus of the government is to upgrade all the students with various kind of skills, right from the basic skill development of being a mention, or being how to be a mechanic or something like that, and skill development at higher level. और हम सबको पता है, as we grow forward, we need to grow our skill also. And as of today also, अगर मेरी आप बात करें तो मैं अपने स्किल सेट को रोज एनहांस करने की कोशिश रोज ही करता हूं, बिकॉज इफ आई डोंट डू दैट, शायद उपेंद्र सर या मोहिता मैडम, मंडल सर मेरे को अगली बार बुलाएंगे नहीं। So it is very necessary that I have to keep on enhancing my skill, and government in this budget has provided a lot of money for enhancing skill. And one area where government is again promoting, और शायद as a university इस तरह के लोग explore करें, I don't know आप university has an incubation center or not, probably अगर नहीं है तो definitely आप लोग कोशिश करेंगे incubation center लाने की। And this is a major thrust which the government is giving today. In the next 5 years, the government has providing 1 lakh crore corpus for interest-free loan to government, state government, and state government in turn will provide that amount, subsidy or whatever, for any activities which is focused on digital innovation. ये गवर्नमेंट ने इस बार ये कॉर्पस क्रिएट किया, नया तरह का फंड प्रोवाइड किया है। 50 साल तक के लिए इंटरेस्ट फ्री लोन स्टेट गवर्नमेंट को और फाइनेंशियल इंस्टीट्यूशंस को दिया जा रहा है, फॉर फोकसिंग और चैनलाइजिंग दैट अमाउंट फॉर रिसर्च एंड डेवलपमेंट एंड डिजिटल इनोवेशन। सो अगर गवर्नमेंट और इंस्टीट्यूशन को 0% पे मिल रहा है, वही पैसा आपको एज एन इंडिविजुअल शायद वो 2%, 3% पे दे देंगे। So imagine the kind of support which is this particular fund is going to provide for any innovative activity. तो हमारी जिम्मेदारी है, and students should remember, the key to upgrade in times to come is to be innovative. अगर आप innovative नहीं हैं तो शायद आपके घर वाले भी आपसे प्रश्न करेंगे आने वाले समय में, भाई नया क्या कर रहा है तू। तो प्रश्न आने से पहले प्लीज आप एक अपना स्टेप लें, बी इनोवेटिव, एंड फॉर दैट गवर्नमेंट हैज गॉट every kind of support for this, and this is a new fund which is being given. So friends, government has understood the importance of power of women, and we all have, and we should understand the power of women, the youth. अगर आप पेपर पढ़ते होंगे तो आप देखो लखपति दीदी, ये कॉमन वर्ड आ रहा है, लखपति दीदी। वर्ड कॉइन करने में ये गवर्नमेंट माहिर है और बहुत अच्छे वर्ड कॉइन करती है, उसमें कोई दो राय नहीं है, और उन सब चीजों को अडॉप्ट करना चाहिए। लखपति दीदी इज एन अट्रैक्टिव वर्ड। हमें भी लगता है यार हमें लखपति बन जाऊं मैं। लखपति बनना एक बड़े फैंसी वर्ड होता है, तो एनीवेयर स्कीम्स हैव बीन लॉन्च जो फोकस कर रही है वुमेन डेवलपमेंट पे, और लखपति दीदी का जो स्कोप है वो बढ़ाया गया है. Lot of schemes have been given to promote self-help groups of women and the youth, in particular for the rural areas. And even the finance minister has specially mentioned that let us focus on these two words of our country, women and youth, and then you unleash the power of our country. तो जितने भी स्टूडेंट, the female students sitting out here, आपका समय शुरू होता है अब. इस चीज को छोड़े नहीं, मौके का फायदा. जब सब कुछ सुविधा आपको दी जा रही है हर महीने में, हमें इनकैश करना चाहिए. सो दिस वाज माय ब्रीफ एनालिसिस ऑन द होल एस्पेक्ट ऑफ बजट फ्रेंड्स, where I have tried to focus on certain areas, and I would stress upon the single point: explore these areas. और जैसे ही कॉलेज से बाहर आए, कॉलेज में रहते भी, if you can explore these kind of areas and try to come out with a small venture relating to these areas, then you see the kind of experience which you get with the support of all the faculty members out here, and make a difference to your lives, the family members, to the society. और मेरा मानना है इस सब चीज के लिए भगवान के भरोसे नहीं बैठे, क्या पता भगवान आपके भरोसे बैठा हो. So over to you, Mohita ma'am, for any question answer.
Thank you so much, sir, for sharing your expertise with us. We truly appreciate your insightful presentation. Now, I would like to open the floor for any questions from the audience. Please feel free to share your thoughts. Students, you can ask, you can raise your hand, or you can write the questions in the chat box.
I think a question I am, madam, somebody has mentioned about, does government providing loans other than government area? So I think government is providing loans for every area. They are not limited to only government area. आप कोई भी बिजनेस चालू करें. लेट्स से फॉर एग्जांपल, आई डिड नॉट मेंशन अबाउट द स्टार्टअप इंडिया स्कीम. है स्टार्टअप इंडिया स्कीम ऐसी स्कीम है जो एक्चुअली यूथ पे फोकस्ड है, एंड गवर्नमेंट इज एक्चुअली प्रोवाइडिंग लॉट ऑफ सब्सिडी इन द एरिया ऑफ स्टार्टअप. तो आप लोन तो एज अ यंग माइंड, आई थिंक आप लोन बाद में सोचें. पहले आप सोचें कि क्या बिजनेस होगा. आप लोन के बारे में सोचें, लोन के पहले तो पहले बिजनेस आना चाहिए. So I think the primary focus should be on the business which you are trying to do. Understanding that business model, scope, market, how will you develop that business? Then you come to that funding aspect. And today, as I said, government पहले आप जैसे यंग लोगों के लिए पहले सब्सिडी के बारे में सोचती है, so that you don't feel the burden. And thereafter the option of getting a loan, इक्विटी, प्राइवेट इक्विटी फंडिंग, प्राइवेट वेंचर कैपिटल फंडिंग, बहुत सारे एरियाज आ चुके. सो आप ये ना सोचें कि पहले लोन मिलता है कि नहीं मिलता है, पहले सोचें बिजनेस प्रॉब्लम है कि नहीं, देन लोन की बात करें. देखिए डॉक्टर अमित सर, the government is giving dual pension to MLA and MP at the same time for lifetime. Obviously when they are in power and when they make regulations, we all understand that at end of the day there are certain elements which creep in because of certain aspect of self motivating ourselves. So that's more of a political thing, and हर जन अपना भला करना कोशिश कर रहा होगा. So maybe on that aspect I don't have much comment, but this, if these kind of steps are taken, these are burdens to the exchequer of our country, but we have to bear certain pain to get the best gain out of them. देखिए, government loans are not able to reach each. I think there are two aspects of it. First is that government loan हर को जरूरत भी नहीं है. ऐसा क्यों है जरूरी कि हर को गवर्नमेंट लोन दिया जाए? भाई लोन उन्हीं को मिलना चाहिए when they are thinking of doing something new or they are doing certain kind of business, तभी लोन मिलना चाहिए. तो reach each लोन का नहीं होना चाहिए. Government should reach each with a proper facility, proper mechanism. And as I mentioned in my lecture, that there's a focus on governance. दो करेंटली जो डिजिटल पुश है गवर्नमेंट का, जो इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर रीच है, देयर माइट बी सर्टेन गैप्स, बट इन आने वाले समय में विद द जनधन योजना, विद वेरियस काइंड ऑफ स्कीम्स, आई एम श्योर जो गवर्नमेंट का ऑब्जेक्टिव होगा दैट दिस फंड शुड रीच दैट पर्सन, वो अपने आप अचीव हो जाएगा. So another 4 to 5 years, I think these all things will be taken care of when the governance is a prime importance for each government. Though हर गवर्नमेंट कभी नहीं चाहेगी कि 100% गवर्नेंस अचीव हो जाए बिकॉज ऑफ ऑब्वियस रीजंस, बट मैक्सिमम प्रयास किया जा रहा है एंड इट विल हैपन. सो माय फोकस टू यू इज, माय सजेशन टू यू इज, हम ये ना सोचें कि ये क्यों नहीं हो रहा है, वो क्यों नहीं हो रहा है. अगर उसमें हमें बिजनेस अपॉर्चुनिटी मिल रही है तो उसमें जरूर फोकस करें कि ये नहीं हो रहा है तो मैं काम करूं उस चीज पे, और हम उस चीज को फायदा उठाएं जो चीज पॉसिबल है मेरे लिए. अगर आपको लगता है ये नहीं हो रहा है, देन यू थिंक दैट इफ यू आर एबल टू मेक इट हैपन, देन फॉर यू पॉलिटिक्स इज एन अपॉर्चुनिटी. नहीं, इन दिस बजट देयर इज नथिंग विथ रिस्पेक्ट टू एजुकेशन लोन और समथिंग लाइक दैट, कुछ भी नहीं. So nothing in for students. I think skill-based things is more for the students. So skill enhancement की बात कर रहे हैं, nothing with respect to loan.
Naveen ji, I have a point to raise.
Yes.
I mean, we read in papers and other reports about the growth that India is clocking even during and just after Corona. And now it's touching 7%, 6.7% to be precise. What, rather, can you throw some light on the status of GDP per capita? How is it performing? Number one.
Yeah.
And the second one is, see, the other, worrisome matter, in spite of having a rosy picture as far as GDP growth is concerned, is in disparity in income, which all reports say that it has only been rising and rising, which is not good for economy as I understand. So what is your take on these two?
Sir, with respect to GDP per capita in India, now if you see, it is very low. We understand that it is very low in our country. So the basic problem is the problem of the lack of education, healthcare, and employment opportunities. Now, to increase that, as I said, that government is focusing on schemes which will actually try to cater to these issues. But the contrary, the effect of population is major, and that is why the India is not able to increase that GDP per capita income. So government is trying to come up with schemes which will actually directly benefit the user. I think one of the questions which one of the students mentioned about whether it is able to reach that particular benefit to that person or not. So once that is being achieved with various process of digitization and governance, I think the detail per capital, GDP per capital should increase. But as I said, as we all know, the population growth is at a faster rate than we expect. So managing these issues will always be a challenge. And India, when I say Viksit Bharat or government says Viksit Bharat 2047 तक, तो उतना समय शायद कम होगा to achieve that state of a developed economy. Only because of what point you mentioned, GDP per capita. That is one. And second part is the disparity between the income sources between two kinds of people. तो ये social structure जो create हुआ है over the last 70 years or 100 years. Now to fill that gap of that social structure, probably you need another 50 to 100 years. तो ये जो gap होगा ये बहुत slow pace से fill up होगा. And that will always be a challenge. That is why, अगर आप देखेंगे सर, world across, focus is now in the inclusive growth. तो उपेंद्र सर भी इतनी जगह ट्रैवल करते हैं, आई एम श्योर ही विल ऑल्सो agree to this idea that inclusive growth will only come when there is innovation. आज इंदौर की बात करें सर, 15 years back इंदौर was at a different situation, but because of one step taken by government of Swachh Bharat, cleanliness, आज इंडिया इंदौर का डायमेंशन बदल गया. And lot of capital attraction is happening in Indore and in and around Indore. Now, जो कैपिटल शायद बॉम्बे में जा रहा था, सूरत में या बैंगलोर में जा रहा था, there is a diversion of that capital into these cities. So when there is innovation happening in smaller areas like Indore, Ujjain, Bhopal, Jabalpur, then that will attract capital, and that will eliminate this diversion or the gap between the rich and poor, or whatever you say, in the two stratas of society. Now, innovation आएगा कहाँ से सर? आप सोचिए innovation कैसे आ सकता है? Innovation will only come when there is a skilled knowledge, skilled source, and support system. And to create that support system, skilled knowledge, I think as a society we have a responsibility. तो जब तक हम प्रयास नहीं करेंगे as a society, as an individual, as an institution, as a college, as a faculty, I think वो innovation का mindset student में नहीं आएगा. और जिस दिन वो आ जाएगा, आप समझे, तो सागर का बच्चा भी अगर इनोवेटिव हो जाएगा तो पूरा पैसा सागर में पहुंच जाएगा. तब ये गैप खत्म हो जाएगा. सो गवर्नमेंट एक तरफ एफर्ट लगा रही होगी, द अदर एफर्ट हैज टू बी ऑन आवर पार्ट आल्सो. वो माइंडसेट बदलने वाली बात होगी. अगर आप देखेंगे सर, नॉर्वे या नॉर्वे में एक जगह थी which was regarded as the very remotest of the area, though without development, and not able to recall that name. And today, it is the most highly intellectual location in the last 30 years. And a lot of capital is being driving towards that particular small area because of innovation. It has become the innovation hub of the world. Norway या Ireland में, I think Norway is the country. Or because of innovations.
In one of the IMA conventions, Ramesh Mashirkar was asked that what should be the future strategy for all of us. His answer was innovation, innovation, innovation.
Innovation.
So the answer is innovation. In every field, every sector, we shall have to innovate.
Right, sir. Absolutely right, sir.
Yeah.
वो तीन वर्ड्स अगर किसी पिक्चर को सक्सेसफुल करते हैं तो एंटरटेनमेंट है, तो हमारे लिए एज अ स्टूडेंट हमारे लिए इनोवेशन रहेगा.
Navanji, I have another question, slightly political. See, the presentation that I understood from you, the budget actually focused on development rather than doling out freebies. Whereas, leave aside Delhi, there are many BJP governments, state level, who are in fact giving away thousands of crores of rupees in form of freebies. So this is paradoxical. So on one hand, you have the central government which is trying to do something differently, whereas the state government is trying to undo all the stuff. So is it not going to have an effect on the or rather negate the efforts of the central government?
I think it will have a percolating effect. Obviously, central government will not be left alone, because ultimately state government will be deficient and it will raise money from the central government itself. That is why maybe the central government had thought that why should we indulge in all these kind of freebies when the state government is taking care of such the burden. Maybe that could be a strategy out of the central government, that let this be taken care by the state government. And that is again a political thing. So indirect benefit is the central part only, because it's a benefit जा ही रहा है उनके द्वारा जो rule किया जा रहा है. So yes, that's a paradox situation. Somehow we need to come out of it. And maybe once the policy making is driven by central, is being actually implemented by the state government, when there's a congruency between these two policy makers, तो शायद चीजें अलाइन हो जाएगी. And this will happen under one situation, sir, when governance becomes prime importance, and governance will be achieved by digitization. And lot of things जब digitize हो जाएगी ना, बहुत सारी चीजें state government से shift हो जाएंगी central government पे. When things start rolling in that particular area, probably ये सब चीजें फिर कम होंगी. But by that time, till that time, we have to bear that pain, sir.
One last question from me.
Yeah, sure, sir.
Again, आपके presentation से लगा कि there is a lot of focus on new economy, technology sectors. What's happening with the traditional, brick and mortar manufacturing sector as far as government, policy is concerned?
Yes, I think brick and mortar, when I mentioned about the incentive-based schemes, sir, PLI scheme, the thrust is on manufacturing part. And government has understood that without underlying the increasing the base for manufacturing, the country cannot grow. Services is very important. We all know that technology will be the driving force, but with having a base of manufacturing segment, things can balance out. And moreover, looking to what is happening under the geopolitical situation. अगर आप geopolitical situation समझेंगे, यूक्रेन की वॉर है, इसराइल में वॉर है, रेड सी का जो डिस्प्यूट आ रहा है, मतलब सप्लाई चेन में इश्यूज आ रहे हैं. The government now understands that self-reliance is the only way for the future. Otherwise, all these geopolitical issues will definitely come at different point of time. कहीं अफगानिस्तान में किसी दिन होगा, किसी दिन इराक में होगा, किसी दिन ये होगा, चलता जाएगा. It's now a never-ending story. So, brick and mortar will be equally important. They cannot totally rely on the world of technology, and things will be equally rolled out, sir. The government has to do that. Without that, no country can progress.
There's some more questions you can take.
Yeah, I'm just looking at I think Mr. Siddharth has mentioned certain question. Mr. Siddharth has asked one question about benefit of increasing capital expenditure that will help in increasing the number of entrepreneurs. Yes, I think capital expenditure, see, if there's a capital expenditure by the government, वो रोड पे खर्चा करेंगे या डैम पे खर्चा करेंगे या पावर सेक्टर में और खर्चा करेंगे, तो ऑब्वियसली जब कैपेसिटीज बढ़ती है फॉर एनी काइंड ऑफ इंडस्ट्री, द अल्टीमेट बेनिफिशियरी इज द एंटरप्रेन्योर्स, all businesses related to that particular industry. So any government which has a focus on capital expenditure, which must be there. See, capital expenditure government एक लिमिट तक कर सकती है because of shortage of funds. Ultimately government के पास पैसा रहता नहीं है, so either they will raise tax or take loan. So if they are limited capital expenditure, but capital expenditure coming from private sector is more important. That is why you'll see a lot of private public partnership ventures. तो capital expenditure private sector से ज्यादा focus होना चाहिए in long term, and government will come up with various type of schemes to promote capital expenditure from private sector. So definitely entrepreneurs को बहुत बड़ा benefit मिलता है अगर capital expenditure होता है. Siddharji, capital expenditure is not only for metros or big states, it is at all level. Especially if you see the supply chain mechanism में capital expenditure की बात करें, तो आप समझे अयोध्या जैसी सिटी जो आप डेवलप हो गई है, जो 10 साल पहले आपने कभी सोचा नहीं था कि अयोध्या जाऊंगा मैं, आज आप सोच रहे एक बार तो दर्शन करने चलते हैं अपन. नाउ अयोध्या जैसी जगह में कैपिटल एक्सपेंडिचर किस चीज का होगा? अयोध्या जैसी जगह में आपके बच्चों को चिप्स मिले, तो चिप्स पहले 10 साल पहले अयोध्या में पहुंचे ना पहुंचे, चिप्स वाले को चिंता ही नहीं थी. आज वो चाहेगा कि वो उसका चिप्स अयोध्या में रोज सुबह अवेलेबल हो हर शॉप में, या हर एफएमसीजी कंपनी चाहेगी कि वहां पर हो. तो उसके लिए लॉजिस्टिक होना चाहिए, कनेक्टिविटी होना चाहिए, वेयरहाउसिंग होना चाहिए, मैन्युफैक्चरिंग होना चाहिए, सो दैट एवरीथिंग इज डिलीवर्ड एट द राइट टाइम एट द राइट प्लेस. सो इट इज नॉट ओनली फॉर मेट्रो सिटीज और बिग स्टेट्स, इट इज एवरीवेयर, हर जगह होने लगेगा. See, Tejwar, see, recession, impact of recession in next 5 years. If you see India में recession की तो बात नहीं की जा रही है. India में it is just the reverse. World is looking upon India for the growth. Recession दुनिया में हो रहा होगा. इसलिए I think India is aloof to that recession because of the obvious reasons कि India is now self-driven in a lot of cases. So nothing about recession, but even if recession comes in, India will be able to sail through that process because COVID ने एक चीज सिखा दी किस तरह से worst scenario में हम handle कर सकें. So COVID obviously for certain reasons was very bad, we understand, but for certain economic reasons, it was very good also. So both angles थे कोविड के. So recession तो I think India में अभी नहीं touch करने वाला है.
Any more questions, students? Okay, I think no more questions. So lastly, let me extend my heartfelt appreciation to all of you. I would like to thank you to our resource person for enlightening us with their knowledge. I'm pretty sure that the precious knowledge that sir have given us will definitely help our students in their studies in future. I express my warm gratitude to our Vice Chancellors, Dr. Upendra sir, for constant support. Your inspiration has made our task easier at every point, sir. I would also like to thank our coordinator, Dr. T.K. Mandal sir, for giving us opportunity to organize this session. I also want to thank to the faculties and students to make this event successful. My heartfelt gratitude to each one of all. May I kindly request everyone to raise for the national anthem.
जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल गंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे
I appreciate.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
For a very enriching session.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Have a good day, sir.
Thanks a lot, Naveen ji.
Thank you, madam. Sir. Thank you.
We'll meet again.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you, Naveen sir.
Thank you.